This is Mr. Eugene, and today we're discussing the single most important truth about women that, once understood, will prevent you from ever being manipulated, confused, or played again. And it has nothing to do with being richer, more attractive, or more alpha. It has everything to do with understanding how women actually experience reality, which is fundamentally different from how men experience it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a relationship where a woman swore she loved you, committed to you, told you that you were everything she wanted, and then days or weeks later she's cold, distant, pulling away as if none of those words ever mattered? Have you sat there completely confused, trying to understand what changed, what you did wrong, how the rules shifted so dramatically overnight? It feels like playing a game where the rules change constantly and nobody told you how to play. You're operating from logic, from consistency, from your word meaning something. And she's operating from something completely different, something that doesn't make sense to you, something that feels manipulative or crazy or intentionally designed to hurt you. But here's what most men never understand. She's not playing games. She's not being manipulative. She's not intentionally trying to confuse you. She's operating from her emotional reality. And until you understand that her emotional reality is her only reality, that her feelings in any given moment define her truth regardless of logic, facts, or previous commitments, you will continue to be confused, hurt, and played by dynamics you can't control. And before we get into this, let me tell you why this matters to me and why I'm willing to explain female emotional reality in ways that will make some people uncomfortable. Because I've watched too many good men get destroyed by not understanding this fundamental difference between male and female psychology. I've watched men operate from their logic, their consistency, their word meaning something, and get absolutely blindsided when women operate from completely different framework where emotions override everything, including previous commitments. These men aren't failing because they're weak or inadequate. They're failing because they're judging women by male standards, logic, consistency, commitment to one's word. And women don't operate by those standards. Women operate by emotional truth. What she feels in the moment is her reality. And if her feelings change, her reality changes. Even if that contradicts everything she said yesterday, most men never learn this. They spend years confused, hurt, trying to hold women to standards of logical consistency that women simply don't operate by. And they suffer because of that ignorance. So I'm explaining it clearly today. Not to bash women, not to say women are inferior or defective, but to help men understand the actual operating system women run on so men can protect themselves and respond appropriately instead of being destroyed by dynamics they don't understand. Stay with me. Today we're examining the fundamental truth about female emotional reality, how it differs from male logical reality, and what men must understand to stop being played by dynamics rooted in that difference. Hashtag the fundamental truth. Women live in emotional reality, not logical reality. Here's the truth. Most men never grasp women don't live in facts. They live in feelings. What a woman feels in any given moment is her truth, even if it makes no logical sense, even if it contradicts what she said yesterday, even if it ignores objective reality. This isn't a character flaw. This isn't women being defective or inferior. This is how female psychology works. Women are emotional creatures. Their emotional state determines their perception of reality. And when emotions shift, which they do constantly, reality shifts with them. Let me give you a concrete example. She can love you genuinely at 3 p.m., feel completely connected, tell you you're everything she wants, commit to building future with you. Then by 10 p.m., same day, nothing significant happened. She can feel completely disconnected, cold, distant, like she doesn't even know why she's with you. Did she lie at 3 p.m.? No. She genuinely felt love and connection at that moment. Her emotional state created that reality. Is she lying at 10 p.m.? No. She genuinely feels disconnected at this moment. Her emotional state has created new reality. Both are true to her because truth for women is whatever they're feeling right now. The fact that these truths contradict each other is irrelevant to her because she's not operating from logical framework requiring consistency. She's operating from emotional framework where current feeling is current truth. This is what men fail to understand. You operate from logic. Your word means something to you. If you commit to something, you follow through regardless of how you feel in the moment. You maintain consistency because consistency is part of male integrity. Women don't operate that way. Commitment means this is how I feel right now. Love means this is my emotional state currently. Future plans mean this is what I envision based on current feelings. All of it is contingent on emotional state. An emotional state is fluid, constantly changing, influenced by hundreds of factors you can't control or even perceive. Why this matters, if you judge her behavior by male standards, logic, consistency, commitment meaning something regardless of feelings, you will be perpetually confused and hurt. You'll think she's manipulative or crazy or intentionally playing games, but she's not. She's just operating from emotional reality where feelings override everything else. Once you understand this, once you accept that her emotional state defines her reality and that emotional states change constantly, you stop being confused. You stop being hurt by inconsistency. And you stop trying to hold her to standards she's incapable of meeting because they're not part of her operating system. Hashtag practical implication. First, her words mean nothing. Watch her behavior, the first practical implication of understanding female emotional reality. Stop listening to her words. Watch her behavior. Women's words reflect their current emotional state. I love you means I feel love right now. I'll never leave you means I can't imagine leaving based on how I feel currently. You're everything I want means my emotional state right now makes you feel like everything I want. All of these statements are emotionally true in the moment, but they're not commitments. They're not promises. They're emotional expressions of current state. And current state changes. So when she says, I love you at night and acts cold and distant the next morning, you might think, but you said you loved me. You told me I was everything. And you're applying male logic. Your words should mean something, should create commitment regardless of subsequent feelings. But to her, those words meant that was my emotional truth when I said it. They don't create obligation to maintain that emotional truth. They were descriptive of moment, not prescriptive of future. What this means for you, don't make decisions based on her words. Don't commit resources based on what she says. Don't believe promises about future. Don't take declarations of love as permanent commitments. All of it is temporary emotional expression. Instead, watch behavior. Behavior reveals patterns. Words reflect moments. Behavior over time shows you what she actually does, not what she feels like doing when emotions are running high, but what she consistently chooses across various emotional states. Does she consistently show up? Does she consistently prioritize you? Does she consistently respect your boundaries? Does she consistently reciprocate effort? That's what matters, not what she says when she's feeling emotionally connected. The pattern to recognize: women don't fake their behavioral patterns. They fake their presentation. She might say all the right things. I'm not like other women. I want something serious. I'm done with games. But meanwhile, behavior shows: still texting X, still going out constantly, still ignoring your boundaries, still keeping other men as options. Her words reflect what she wants to believe about herself in moment. Her behavior reflects her actual patterns. Believe behavior, ignore words. This protects you from being manipulated by emotional statements that don't translate into actual commitment or change behavior. Hashtag practical implication. Second, she will test you. Understand why the second implication: women will test you constantly, not to break you, to feel you. This is where most men get angry and defensive. Why is she testing me? Why can't she just trust me? Why do I have to prove myself constantly? Because you're applying male framework to female behavior. Men prove themselves once and expect that proof to stand. I showed you I'm reliable. That should be settled. But women don't work that way. They're not testing your objective qualities, your reliability, your strength, your capability. They're testing their emotional response to you. She's not asking, is he strong objectively? She's asking, do I feel safe with his strength? Does his presence calm me or agitate me? Can I relax into his leadership, or do I feel like I need to lead? These are emotional questions that require ongoing emotional evaluation, not one-time logical assessment. This is why tests never end, because she's not trying to gather information that, once obtained, settles the question. She's trying to feel something, and feelings require ongoing calibration. Her emotional state changes, circumstances change, stressors change, so she needs to keep testing whether you remain steady regardless of these changes. Common tests and what they're actually evaluating: disrespect test. She says something slightly disrespectful, dismissive, or challenging. She's not trying to hurt you. She's testing: will you maintain frame or fold? Do you have boundaries, or will you accept poor treatment to keep her approval? Your response tells her whether she can relax into your strength or whether she needs to lead because you'll fold under pressure. Compliance test. She asks you to do something unreasonable, change your plans last minute, sacrifice something important for her convenience. She's not trying to control you. She's testing: does he have priorities beyond me? Is he desperate for my approval? Can I respect him, or will he sacrifice himself to please me? If you immediately comply, she feels he's weak, he needs me, I can't respect him. If you maintain your priorities, she feels he's strong, he has options, I can respect and trust his leadership. Emotional test: she gets upset, moody, distant for no clear reason. She's not trying to punish you. She's testing: does he stay calm when I'm emotional? Does my mood dictate his? Can I lean on his stability, or does he become unstable when I am? If you get reactive, what's wrong? Did I do something? How do I fix this? She feels he's controlled by my emotions, he's not stable, I can't trust him to lead. If you remain calm and unbothered, she feels he's solid, he's not shaken by my moods, I can trust his strength. The pattern: All tests are asking the same emotional question. Can I trust this man's strength? Is he stable regardless of my emotional state? Can I relax and follow, or do I need to lead because he's weak? If you fail tests, if you fold, get reactive, change based on her moods, seek her approval desperately. She feels he's not strong, I can't trust him, I need to keep testing or find someone I can trust. Attraction dies because she cannot be attracted to men she doesn't respect. And she can't respect men who fail her tests. If you pass tests, if you maintain frame, stay calm, hold boundaries, remain unmoved by her moods, she feels he's solid, he's safe, I can trust him, I can relax. Attraction increases because she feels she can finally stop testing and surrender to masculine leadership she trusts. Hashtag practical implication. Third, seek consistency, not clarity. Third implication, stop chasing clarity from her. Seek consistency instead. When her behavior confuses you, when she's hot and cold, when she says one thing and does another, when she pulls away after seeming connected, your male instinct is to seek clarity. What's going on? What changed? Did I do something wrong? Can you explain what you're feeling? This approach fails because you're asking her to explain emotional process logically. She can't. Her emotions changed. She doesn't know why they changed. Asking her to logically explain emotional shift puts her in an impossible position, trying to create logical narrative for illogical process. What happens? She'll manufacture explanation. You did X wrong, or I need Y from you, or I'm just stressed about Z, and you, operating from male problem-solving framework, will think, great, now I know the problem. I'll fix X, provide Y, help with Z, and we'll be good. But that's not what happened. She didn't identify actual problem because there isn't logical problem to identify. Her emotional state shifted for reasons she doesn't consciously understand. The explanation she gave you is post hoc rationalization, her mind trying to create logical story for emotional change. So you fix the manufactured problem and nothing improves because you didn't fix actual issue. The actual issue is her emotional state shifted and she doesn't know why. Your attempt to get clarity just resulted in false explanation that won't solve anything. Better approach? Seek consistency over time, not clarity in moment. Don't ask her to explain her feelings. Don't try to get logical clarity about illogical emotional process. Instead, observe patterns. Is she consistently respectful over time? Does she consistently reciprocate effort over weeks and months? Does she consistently show up and prioritize you across various emotional states? Does her behavior remain relatively stable even when her moods fluctuate? Consistency reveals character. Anyone can be great when feeling emotionally high. Anyone can make promises when in loving mood. The question is, what does she do when mood changes? Does she maintain respectful behavior even when feeling frustrated? Does she honor commitments even when emotions shift? Does she treat you well even when she's not feeling particularly connected? If yes, if she maintains consistent baseline of respectful behavior, reciprocal effort, honoring commitments regardless of emotional fluctuations, then you have something solid. Her emotional ups and downs don't matter because her behavior remains consistent. If no, if her behavior changes dramatically based on mood, if she's loving when feeling good and cruel when feeling bad, if she honors commitments only when emotionally invested and abandons them when emotions shift, then you have instability. Her words are meaningless because behavior is completely contingent on current emotional state. Don't waste energy seeking clarity about specific emotional moments. Invest energy observing consistency over time. That tells you everything you need to know. Hashtag practical implication. Fourth, withdraw when disrespected. Don't argue. Fourth implication, when she disrespects you or crosses boundaries, withdraw. Don't argue. Don't explain. Withdraw. Men's instinct when disrespected is to defend, to explain, to argue logically about why the disrespect is unacceptable. You can't talk to me that way because... And then you lay out logical case for why her behavior is wrong. This fails completely because you're trying to win logical argument with someone operating from emotional framework. She's not disrespecting you because she logically believes it's acceptable. She's disrespecting you because her emotional state in that moment made it feel okay, or because she's testing your boundaries. Arguing with her accomplishes nothing. You can't logic her into respecting you. Respect isn't logical conclusion, it's emotional response. She respects you when she feels you're strong, when she feels you have boundaries, when she feels you won't tolerate poor treatment. Arguing undermines all of that because it shows you're seeking her agreement rather than enforcing your standards. Effective response? Withdraw. She disrespects you, you go quiet. Not loud, not argumentative, just quiet. Pull back your energy, your attention, your presence. Create distance without explanation. Why this works, you're speaking her language, emotion. She disrespected you. Action creating negative emotion. You withdrew. Consequence creating negative emotion in her. She feels the consequence immediately. She feels your absence, your distance, your decreased investment. This emotional consequence teaches her in ways logical argument never could. And you're maintaining your frame. You're demonstrating through behavior, I don't tolerate disrespect. I don't argue about it. I simply remove myself from situations where I'm not respected. This is incredibly powerful because it shows strength. You don't need her to understand why disrespect is wrong. You just enforce standard. Most men fear withdrawal because it feels like giving up or being cold or risking losing her. But understand, withdrawal isn't punishment. It's boundary enforcement. It's communicating through action, her language, what arguing communicates ineffectively through words, your language. If she values you, withdrawal will prompt reflection and correction. She'll feel your absence. Recognize she crossed line, adjust behavior to restore connection. This is healthy dynamic. She tests boundary, you enforce it, she respects it. If she doesn't value you, withdrawal won't change anything. She'll let you go without reflection or correction. And this gives you critical information. She doesn't value you enough to modify behavior that drives you away. Now you know. Walk away permanently. Either way, withdrawal serves you. Either it corrects her behavior and establishes healthy boundaries, or it reveals she's not worth continued investment. Arguing serves neither purpose. It just demonstrates you can be controlled through debate and that your boundaries are negotiable. #practical implication. Fifth, master your own emotions. Become unshakable. Fifth and most critical implication. Master your own emotional state. Become unshakable regardless of her emotional fluctuations. Here's the ultimate truth about navigating female emotional reality. A man who masters his own emotions cannot be manipulated. If your emotional state is tied to hers, if you're happy when she's happy, anxious when she's distant, devastated when she's upset, you're being led by her emotional fluctuations. You've surrendered your emotional sovereignty to her moods, and this makes you incredibly unattractive and easy to manipulate. Why? Because when she tests you, which she will constantly, your emotionally reactive responses fail every test. She goes cold, you panic and pursue, she disrespects you, you get defensive and argue, she withdraws, you desperately try to fix whatever's wrong. All of these responses communicate. My emotional state depends on yours. I need your approval and connection to feel stable. I'm not solid, I'm reactive and needy. Contrast this with man who's mastered his emotions. She goes cold, he remains warm but unbothered, doesn't chase, doesn't panic, just maintains his own stable state. She disrespects him, he calmly withdraws without anger or argumentation. She withdraws, he continues living his life with peace and purpose. Her mood doesn't dictate his state. What this communicates, my emotional state is independent of yours. I'm solid regardless of what you're doing. I don't need your approval to feel stable. I'm not reactive. I'm grounded in something deeper than your moods. This is profoundly attractive because it's exactly what she's testing for. She wants to know, is this man stable enough that I can be emotionally volatile without destabilizing him? Can I lean on his strength when my emotions are chaotic? Can I trust that he won't fall apart when I'm falling apart? If you're emotionally reactive to her moods, she learns she can't trust your stability. She feels like she needs to manage her emotions carefully around you because you can't handle them. She feels like she's leading emotionally because you're following her emotional state. This kills attraction. If you're emotionally stable regardless of her moods, she learns she can trust you. She feels safe being emotional because you remain stable. She feels she can follow your lead because you're not being blown around by her emotional weather. This creates powerful attraction. How to develop emotional mastery. Tie your emotional state to your purpose and values, not to her behavior. Your mission, your principles, your growth, these determine your state. Her mood is irrelevant to your stability. Practice outcome independence. Be genuinely okay with losing her, not cold or distant, but fundamentally accepting that if this relationship ends, you'll be fine. This removes fear that drives reactive behavior. Respond, don't react. When she does something that triggers emotion, pause. Don't immediately respond from emotional state. Choose response from grounded place, not reactive place. Maintain your life outside relationship. Friends, hobbies, purpose, goals, all of this creates emotional stability independent of her. When she's not your whole world, her moods don't control your world. The man who's mastered this, who maintains stable, grounded emotional state regardless of her fluctuations, becomes magnetic. Because she finally feels she can relax. She doesn't need to test anymore because she knows this man is solid. And that's what creates lasting attraction. #the trap most men fall into, treating symptoms instead of understanding system. Let me explain why most men continue getting played despite learning techniques or strategies for dealing with women, because they're treating symptoms instead of understanding the system. They learn, don't be too available or make her jealous, or use push-pull tactics or be more alpha. All symptom-level interventions, band-aids on fundamental misunderstanding. The fundamental misunderstanding is they're still operating from male framework and trying to manipulate outcomes within that framework. They're still judging her by logic, still expecting consistency, still believing her words create obligations, still seeking clarity through rational discussion. So they try techniques without understanding underlying reality. And the techniques fail because they're being applied from wrong framework. She sees through them because she's operating from emotional reality and can feel when you're manufacturing behavior versus actually understanding how this works. Real change requires understanding female emotional reality at foundational level, accepting that she operates from feelings, not facts, recognizing that her truth is whatever she feels currently, adjusting your expectations and responses accordingly, not to manipulate, but because you genuinely understand this is how female psychology works. Once you understand the system, you don't need techniques. You naturally watch behavior instead of believing words because you understand words reflect temporary emotional states, expect tests, and pass them calmly because you understand she's feeling for stability, not trying to break you. Seek consistency over time instead of clarity in moments because you understand emotional fluctuations are normal and explanations are post hoc rationalizations. Withdraw when boundaries crossed instead of arguing because you understand emotional consequences teach better than logical arguments. Maintain stable emotional state regardless of her moods because you understand your stability is what she's ultimately seeking. All of this flows naturally from understanding system. You're not performing techniques, you're responding appropriately to reality you actually understand. And that's what creates lasting success, not tricks or tactics, but genuine comprehension of female emotional reality and adjustment of your approach accordingly. Hashtag the compassionate truth. This isn't about vilifying women. Before we close, I need to emphasize something critical. Understanding female emotional reality isn't about vilifying women or treating them as defective or inferior. Women's emotional nature is not a flaw, it's a feature. It serves important purposes evolutionarily and socially. Female emotional sensitivity creates nurturing, creates social bonding, creates attunement to needs of children and family. It's not bad. It's just different from male logical processing. The problem isn't that women operate from emotions. The problem is that men don't understand this and therefore respond inappropriately, judging women by male standards, expecting logical consistency women aren't wired to provide, getting hurt and confused by dynamics that are completely predictable once you understand the operating system. This understanding isn't ammunition to use against women, it's framework to protect yourself and respond appropriately. When you understand that her emotions drive her reality, you stop being hurt by emotional inconsistency. You stop expecting her to operate like a man. You adjust your approach to work with her nature instead of fighting against it. And here's the beautiful thing. When you understand and work with female emotional reality instead of fighting it, your relationships improve dramatically because you're no longer constantly disappointed by unmet expectations rooted in misunderstanding. You're responding appropriately to what's actually happening. And women respond well to men who understand them at this level. She doesn't want you to treat her like she's defective for being emotional. She wants you to understand that she's emotional and be stable enough to handle that. She wants you to pass the tests, maintain frame, demonstrate strength that lets her relax into feminine energy. She wants you to understand her language, emotion, while maintaining your language, logic, stability. This isn't about winning or manipulation or treating women poorly. It's about understanding reality clearly so you can navigate it successfully while maintaining your dignity, your peace, and your masculine strength. Hashtag final thoughts. The one truth about women that prevents you from ever being played again, women live in emotional reality where feelings define truth and emotional states are constantly shifting. Once you understand this, truly understand it at foundational level, everything changes. You stop being confused by inconsistency. You stop being hurt by words that don't translate to action. You stop expecting logical clarity from emotional processes. You stop being reactive to moods and tests. You start observing patterns instead of moments. You start enforcing boundaries instead of arguing about them. You start maintaining your emotional stability regardless of her fluctuations. And when you do all of this, when you genuinely understand and work with female emotional reality instead of fighting against it, you become the man women desperately want but rarely find, the man who understands them, who can't be shaken by their tests, who maintains strength they can trust, who speaks their emotional language while maintaining his logical foundation. This isn't about becoming cold or distant or uncaring. It's about becoming grounded, stable, unshakable. It's about understanding that her emotional fluctuations aren't personal attacks or manipulation. They're just how she experiences reality. and responding to that reality from a position of strength and understanding instead of confusion and reactivity. I've given you the framework, the fundamental truth, the practical implications. Now it's on you to internalize this, to observe it in your interactions, to adjust your approach accordingly. Stop judging women by male standards they can't meet. Start understanding them as they actually are. And watch how your success with women transforms when you're no longer operating from fundamental misunderstanding. Drop a comment about your experience. Have you seen this pattern? Have you been confused by emotional inconsistency? Does understanding female emotional reality change how you view past interactions? Subscribe for more truth about relationship dynamics rooted in actual understanding of male and female psychology. Because this channel will never sell you techniques or tricks, will never pretend men and women are exactly the same. We'll always give you honest assessment of how these dynamics actually work so you can navigate them successfully. The one truth about women, they live in emotional reality. Understand that, and you'll never be played again.